3 weeks after my 36th birthday, my mother used her emergency key to enter my paid-off bungalow and carried 3 black trash bags of my uncle's things to the curb. I found them after a 12-hour hospital shift, still wearing my badge from biomedical engineering, with disinfectant on my hands and a brass house key missing from the hook by my back door. The first bag had jazz records, the second had old engineering magazines. The third had Uncle Russell's blue repair notebook, the one with coffee stains and circuit diagrams in his careful handwriting. My family had been telling me the house was the problem, but standing over those bags, I finally asked the right question. Why were they so desperate to make me hate the only thing I owned free and clear? What they did not know was that my uncle had taught me to check the operator before blaming the machine. I have always been the calm one. Some people call that cold. I call it keeping my hands steady. At County General, I work on ventilators, infusion pumps, defibrillators, anesthesia monitors, and the kind of medical equipment nobody notices until it fails. A machine does not care if you cry over it. It does not respond to guilt. It tells you the truth through error codes, pressure readings, loose wires, and parts that overheat when somebody ignored a warning too long. My house was the same kind of truth. It was a small 2-bedroom bungalow built in 1954, with narrow halls, old tile, a stubborn back door, and a kitchen that still had laminate counters the color of weak tea. The porch dipped on the left side, and the paint peeled near the front window. But the roof held. The foundation was solid. The taxes were paid. There was no mortgage, no line of credit, no bank waiting for me to miss a month. Uncle Russell left it to me 3 years earlier. He had been my mother's older brother, an engineer who kept to himself, played Miles Davis on Sunday mornings, and repaired audio equipment in the garage just because he liked bringing old things back to life. At our Walker family Juneteenth cookouts, he was the uncle sitting under the far tree with a paper plate balanced on his knee and a book tucked beside him. People loved him, but they also treated him like a warning sign. He never married. He never bought a big house. He never chased status. He lived quiet and debt-free, which made everybody else uncomfortable. To me, he was the only adult who never looked at my life like a broken appliance. He would sit in the living room with a mug of coffee balanced on the arm of his chair and say, "Simone, if a system works, do not let somebody sell you a replacement just because theirs is shinier." I believed him. That belief became a problem for my family. The pressure started before the trash bags. It started with my mother, Mabel Walker, appearing in my garage on a Thursday morning while I was rebuilding Russell's old tube amplifier. I had the cover off, vacuum tubes glowing orange, my multimeter clipped to a capacitor that had seen better decades. My mother stood at the edge of the garage like the concrete floor might stain her shoes. She was 62 and polished in a way that required appointments, hair done, nails done, sweater matched to earrings. She ran one finger along the chipped window frame and sighed like she had discovered a patient in critical condition. "Baby, I worry about you in this place," she said. I kept my eyes on the meter. "The place is fine. That capacitor is not." "I'm serious, Simone. You are 36. You work nights. You come home to a house full of old parts and old memories. A woman needs a home that feels safe, not a repair shop with a bedroom attached." I looked up then. It is safe, paid for, locked, insured, and mine. That is safer than most things. Her face pinched. "That is not what I mean. You act like freedom is having nothing new. Your father and I want more for you. Your birthday dinner is Saturday and we have a gift that could help you start fresh. Please keep an open mind." In my family, keep an open mind meant do not say no until we have surrounded you. Saturday dinner was at my parents' house, a wide brick ranch in a subdivision where every lawn looked professionally warned not to misbehave. My father, Grant, sat at the head of the table with his accountant posture, straight back, folded hands, expression set like a locked drawer. My older sister, Sierra, arrived late in an SUV big enough to have its own weather system. She kissed the air near my cheek and told me I looked comfortable, which was family code for "you did not try hard enough." My younger brother, Ellis, was already in the living room, laughing too loudly. He was 33, a realtor, and the family favorite. He wore a watch that flashed every time he moved his hand and spoke in that smooth voice men use when they think every room is a closing table. "There she is," he said, pulling me into a cologne-heavy hug. 36 and still impossible to impress. "I have standards," I said. "You have walls," Sierra said, smiling into her wine. Dinner was nice on the surface: beef tenderloin, green beans with almonds, potatoes sliced thin and baked in cream. My mother had put balloons on the china cabinet and a banner over the doorway. It should have felt kind. Instead, every glance around that table felt rehearsed. After dessert, my father cleared his throat. My shoulders tightened before he said my name. "Simone, your mother and I have talked about your living situation. My living situation has indoor plumbing and no mortgage." Ellis chuckled like I had made a cute little joke. My mother reached under her chair and lifted a cream-colored envelope. It was thick, tied with ribbon, and too formal to be good news. She slid it across the table. "Just look before you decide how to feel," she said. Inside were glossy design renderings. My house was there, technically, but the walls were gone. The living room had been opened into the kitchen. The old pantry had disappeared. There was a big island, pendant lights, gray cabinets, white stone counters, wide plank floors, and a bedroom suite that would have swallowed half the back of the house. It looked expensive and cold, like a hotel room pretending to have a soul. A receipt was clipped to the first page: design consultation and deposit, $1,500 already paid. "We got the process started," my mother said, her eyes bright. "Just the first step. You deserve to walk into your house and feel proud." "I am proud," I said. Sierra tilted her head. "Of peeling paint? Of owning something outright." Ellis leaned forward. He had been waiting for his cue. "Sis, nobody is saying you have to sell. We are talking about making your asset perform. Right now, you have equity sitting there asleep. With the right renovation, that house could gain serious value, maybe 40%, maybe more." "I am not selling." "Of course not," my mother said quickly. Ellis gave her a little look, then turned back to me. "Not now, but smart owners think ahead. I already talked to a lender I know. Good guy. You could open a home equity line of credit for around $80,000 and use the property itself as security. You do not even have to touch your savings." I set the renderings down. "You want me to borrow $80,000 against a house I own free and clear?" "Borrow is the wrong word," Ellis said. "You would be leveraging equity." "Would I owe a bank money every month?" He paused. "Technically." "Then borrow is the right word." My father removed his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Simone, do not reduce everything to fear of debt. Some debt is productive. Some debt is still debt." Sierra laughed once, sharp and small. "Some of us have families and real responsibilities. Some of us cannot live like a retired man surrounded by records and broken radios." There it was. Not concern. Resentment. Sierra had a 5-bedroom colonial, 2 children in private activities, and credit card balances she pretended not to see. My paid-off little house offended her because it made her expensive life look less successful. My mother reached for my hand. I let her take it because I was tired. "We only want you to stop hiding," she said. "You are alone in that house. You have no husband, no children, no plan for when the world changes around you." I pulled my hand back gently. "I have a job, savings, health insurance, and a house. That is a plan." Ellis smiled. "It is a start." Uncle Russell's voice came back to me as clear as if he were sitting at the table. "A gift with a payment schedule is not a gift. It is a leash." I put every glossy page back into the envelope. "Thank you for thinking of me," I said. "I will look it over." My mother relaxed. My father nodded like we had reached a reasonable business pause. Ellis's smile widened for half a second before he hid it. That was the first thing I should have paid attention to. He looked relieved, not hopeful. On the drive home, the envelope sat on my passenger seat like something that might leak. I kept one hand on the wheel and one eye on my mirrors, though nobody was following me. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat there looking at the porch light, the cracked walkway, the old maple tree, and the window where Russell used to sit with the radio on low. The house did not look sad to me. It looked patient. It had survived storms, bad paint jobs, frozen pipes, and family opinions. I could not understand why everybody suddenly needed it changed right now. By Monday, Ellis began feeding me panic in installments. I was in the ICU service room recalibrating an infusion pump when my phone buzzed. "Check your email," he wrote. "Sent some good homeowner info. You need to see this." At lunch, I opened my inbox and found 7 forwarded articles. They had titles like "Hidden Costs of Old Homes," "Why Delayed Maintenance Can Destroy Equity," and "How Rising Rates Trap Unprepared Owners." Under each one, Ellis had typed little notes. "This is exactly what I was talking about, worth thinking about. You do not want to wait until it is too late." I deleted them, but he did not stop. Tuesday, he sent a lender's number. Wednesday, he said he drove past and noticed my gutters. Thursday morning, he warned me that renovation costs were climbing. Every message sounded helpful if you did not listen closely. But I work around alarms all day. I know the difference between a warning and noise meant to make you move faster than you should. That same Thursday, my mother came in through the back door while I was still at work. I got home at 6:15 and found my kitchen blocked by boxes. A stainless steel refrigerator stood in the middle of the floor in cardboard armor. Beside it were a dishwasher and a microwave with a control panel that looked more complicated than our backup monitors at the hospital. My mother popped up from behind the refrigerator box. "Surprise!" I stared at her. "How did these get here?" "Delivery men. I told them where to put everything. They were very polite." "Mom, these will not fit." "You do not know that." I pointed to the refrigerator label. 36 inches wide. My alcove is 32. The doorway is 31 if you count the trim. She waved her hand. "Then you remove the trim. Maybe that pantry too. You do not need all those old shelves." "I use the pantry every day." "For cans and tools and whatever else you keep in there?" "Simone, real kitchens have flow." I almost laughed. Flow had become their sacred word. A house could lose walls, history, and financial safety, but as long as it had flow, apparently it had been saved. "Return them," I said. My mother's eyes filled so fast I wondered if she practiced. "I am trying to help my daughter live better, and you are treating me like I broke in. You used an emergency key for a non-emergency. Because you shut people out, because you make everything so hard. Look at this place. The floor is old, the counters are old, that stove is old. You are too young to live like an old woman." "I am comfortable." "No," she said softly. "You are used to less. Those are different things." That sentence landed harder than I wanted it to. After she left, I stood among the boxes and felt the first crack of doubt. Maybe I had built a personality around saying no. Maybe I had confused peace with fear. Maybe everybody else could see something I refused to see. If you're listening while making dinner or driving home, tell me where you are listening from, because that was the evening I learned how quietly guilt can enter a house. For the next 2 weeks, they pushed from every direction. My mother brought paint cards in 12 versions of gray. Sierra sent me photos of kitchens and wrote, "This would be gorgeous if you let someone help you." My father called to ask whether I had reviewed the loan terms. Ellis texted calculations with neat little columns: current value, renovation cost, projected value, monthly payment. The number never changed: $80,000. He kept saying it like a vitamin. On the third Tuesday, Ellis called while I was in my garage with Russell's amplifier spread open on my workbench. "I ran conservative numbers," he said. "If you borrow 80, use 65 on renovations, and keep 15 for contingency, you are still in great shape. That property could be worth $450, maybe $475 when finished. Or I could owe $80,000 on a house I already own. You keep saying 'oh' like it is a dirty word. It is not a dirty word. It is a real word." He sighed. "Simone, buyers want modern spaces. They want move-in ready. They want options. You are sitting on one of the best lots in that neighborhood, and you are acting like the goal is to freeze it in amber." My hand stopped above the amplifier. "Why did you say lot?" "What?" "You said I have one of the best lots. Not houses. Lots." Silence. It lasted 1 second, maybe 2, but it was enough. A bad relay clicking at the wrong time. "You know what I mean," he said. "Property, house, lot, same thing in real estate." "Not always." His voice tightened. "Do you want help or not?" "I want the truth." "Then here is the truth. You are wasting potential. Everybody sees it except you." He hung up before I could answer. I stood there with the warm smell of dust and tubes around me, staring at the old brass key my mother had returned to its hook after the appliance stunt. I should have taken it then. I should have changed the locks that night. Instead, I told myself not to overreact. That is how control wins sometimes, not in one dramatic moment. It wins when you keep trying to be reasonable with people who are not being honest. Naomi Pierce was the first person who said the word sabotage out loud. Naomi had been my best friend since community college, back when I was learning electronics and she was arguing with professors about bus routes and zoning maps. She now worked in county planning. She knew streets the way I knew circuits. We met every other Sunday at a coffee shop near the library. I brought the design envelope, Ellis's printouts, and screenshots of his texts. I expected her to say my family was pushy. I did not expect her to go still. She spread the renderings on the table, then opened her tablet. "How long ago did they give you this?" "Almost 3 weeks." Naomi typed the address. Her eyes narrowed. "Simone, your neighborhood was rezoned in April." "Rezoned how?" She turned the tablet toward me. The county map showed my block in a different color than I remembered. My parcel was outlined with neat black lines. Beside it were letters and numbers I did not understand yet. "R4, she said. "High-density residential. Developers can apply for multi-family units now. Small apartment buildings, condos, townhomes, depending on the parcel and setbacks." The coffee shop noise faded. "So?" "So nobody buying on your block right now cares about your kitchen. They care about land assembly, dirt, street access, lot depth. Your old bungalow could be spotless and they would still tear it down." I looked at the renderings. Suddenly the island, the new lights, the white counters, all of it looked foolish. Worse than foolish. Useful to someone else. "If I borrow against the house," I said slowly, "I cannot afford to sit and wait." Naomi nodded. "A big monthly payment makes you motivated. Motivated sellers accept worse terms. And Ellis lists it. Or brings in a buyer. Or both." She scrolled again and showed me 3 permit notices on nearby parcels. Demolition requested, developer inquiry, lot consolidation review. My mouth went dry. "Can you prove Ellis knew?" I asked. Naomi shook her head. "Not from this. Zoning is public, and as a realtor he should know, but should know is not the same as a signed confession. Be careful, ask questions, save everything. Do not take any loan until you speak to someone who represents only you." That was Naomi's limit. She could show me the map. She could explain the risk. She could not fight my family for me. I left the coffee shop with printed copies of the zoning page and a new feeling in my chest. It was not anger yet. It was diagnosis. My family had been calling my house defective, but the malfunction was somewhere else. The next morning, my mother called at 8:02. "I talked to Ellis," she said. "He says you sounded upset." I asked him a question. "You interrogated him. He is only trying to help." "Did he tell you the neighborhood was rezoned?" She paused. "He mentioned something about values going up." "Did he tell you developers are buying lots to tear houses down?" "Simone, that sounds dramatic." "It is a county map." Her voice softened, which meant she was getting ready to push harder. "Baby, sometimes facts can be used to hide fear. Maybe this is all bringing up grief about Russell. Maybe you are holding on to his house because letting it change feels like losing him again." That was the cruelest thing she had said so far, because part of it sounded reasonable. She knew where to press. She knew I missed him. She knew the house was more than wood and wiring to me. "Do not use Uncle Russell to sell me debt," I said. She inhaled sharply. I would never. But 3 days later, after my longest night shift of the month, I found the trash bags at the curb. The first thing I saw was the corner of a blue record sleeve poking through stretched black plastic. I knew that blue. Russell's copy of Kind of Blue had sat in a milk crate beside his chair since I was a child. I tore the bag open with my bare hands. Records slid onto the grass. Some covers were bent. One sleeve had split along the side. The second bag held magazines, manuals, and old hospital equipment catalogs from the years when Russell consulted on backup power systems. The third bag held notebooks. I found the blue one at the bottom. The cover was damp from something in the bag, but the pages were still there. On the inside cover, Russell had written my name years ago. For Simone, who understands that patient hands save good machines. I sat right there on the curb in my work pants and held that notebook against my chest. My mother opened the front door. "Oh good, you are home. I started before work because I thought you would love the surprise." I stood up with the notebook in my hands. "What did you do?" She smiled uncertainly. "I cleaned. That old stuff was making the house feel sad. I put a few brighter pieces in the living room. Come see." Inside, Russell's shelves had been stripped. His record crates were gone. His framed photo from a black engineer's picnic in 1987 had been replaced by a store-bought print that said, "Bless this home" in fake brush script. The room smelled like plug-in air freshener, lemon and flowers and something chemical. It did not smell like Russell anymore. "Where are the rest of his things?" I asked. "Most of it was junk, Simone. Dusty, moldy junk. You cannot build a future around a dead man's clutter." My hand tightened around the notebook. "That dead man gave me this house. And we are trying to make it livable. It was livable before you came in." Her face shifted from soft to offended. "I am your mother. I should not have to ask permission to help you." "Yes," I said. "You should." For once, she had no immediate answer. I carried the records and notebooks into my bedroom and locked the door. Then I sat on the floor, sorted what could be saved, and called a locksmith. "All exterior locks," I said. "Front, back, garage. Today, if possible." He came before noon. My mother was still in the kitchen, pretending to wipe counters that did not need wiping. When she saw him remove the front deadbolt, she stepped into the hall. "This is embarrassing," she whispered. "What will the neighbors think?" "They will think I changed my locks." "Over some boxes of old paper?" I held up the blue notebook. "Over you deciding my memories were trash. Over you using a key I gave you for emergencies. Over you showing me that access to my house makes you think you own part of my life." The locksmith kept his head down. I appreciated that. My mother folded her arms. "You are making me sound like a criminal." "I am describing what happened." When the locksmith handed me the new keys, they felt heavier than they should have. Clean brass, sharp edges. No one else had a copy. I opened the front door and looked at my mother. "You need to leave." "Simone. Now." She waited for me to soften. I did not. Finally, she picked up her purse and walked out, chin raised, wounded in that formal way she used when she wanted witnesses. I turned the new deadbolt after her. The click was small, but it changed the house. It was the first honest sound I had heard in weeks. 3 days passed with no calls. I worked, I cleaned the records. I put Russell's notebooks in a plastic storage bin with a lid. I thought silence meant my family had finally understood the line. Then my mother called. "I overstepped," she said. I sat at my kitchen table with the phone on speaker and the blue notebook open beside me. "Yes," I said. "I am sorry. I should have asked. We have all been too intense. I want to make it right. Let me take you to dinner Saturday. Just us. No loan talk, no house talk." I almost believed her. Then she added too lightly, "A friend's son may stop by. His name is Marcus. He is very successful, and I think you two would enjoy each other." There it was, wrapped in apology. "A date?" "Not a date, just meeting someone nice. You are allowed to have dinner with a nice man, Simone." I should have refused. Instead, I said yes, because by then I wanted to see the entire design. If they were building a trap around me, I wanted to know where every wire ran. Bellini's was the kind of restaurant where the lighting forgives everybody and the prices do not. I arrived in black jeans, a clean blouse, and work boots polished enough to pass if nobody looked down. My mother was already seated at a corner table with a man I had never met. Marcus Shaw stood when I approached, mid-30s, smooth smile, watch too shiny, handshake rehearsed. "Simone," he said, "your mother has told me so much about you." I wish I could say the same. My mother laughed too loudly. "You two talk. I am going to check on our table request." She left her purse on the chair. That was how I knew she was not going far. Marcus ordered wine without asking me, then talked for 15 minutes about his investments, his travel, his workout schedule, and how hard it was to find people with vision. I ate bread and waited. The hook came with the entrees. "Your brother says you own on Briar Lane," Marcus said. I set my fork down. My brother talks a lot. It is a powerful location, especially now. Most people do not understand what they are holding until someone shows them. "And you show them?" He smiled. "I help families unlock value. You duplexes, small multi-family conversions, partnerships. If you and I got serious, I could help you turn that lot into income. You would not have to keep doing hospital repair work forever." There it was. Not romance. Acquisition. I looked past him toward a glass front wine cabinet. In the reflection, I saw my mother in a booth near the hallway. Ellis sat across from her. They were not eating, they were watching. For a moment, everything inside me went quiet. Not numb, clear. Marcus was still talking. "A woman with property and no debt has options, but only if she lets the right person guide the process." I opened my wallet, put $40 on the table, and stood. "Marcus, you can tell Ellis something for me. I do not interview business partners over pasta." His smile faltered. "Excuse me?" I looked at the wine cabinet reflection, then back at him. "And I do not date men who arrive with a development plan." My mother called my name before I reached the door. I did not turn around. At home, I made tea I did not drink and opened my laptop. Naomi had said to save everything. Russell would have said to trace the fault upstream, so I did. The county public records portal looked like it had been designed by someone who hated both computers and people, but it worked. I searched Ellis Walker, then Ellis James Walker, then Walker Realty Group LLC. The first result was a tax lien, $112,000. The second was a civil judgment. Crestline Development Group had sued Ellis over a failed property deal, and the judgment against him was $48,000. The third was a notice of default on a condo he did not brag about at dinner. I kept clicking. Late payments, business filings, a collections hearing scheduled 8 weeks out. It was all public, dry, ugly, and clear. My brother was not a rising realtor helping his stuck sister. He was drowning. The watch, the car, the big laugh, the vacation pictures, all of it was surface shine over a cracked housing. He needed cash, and my house was the fastest asset within reach. A normal commission would help. A buyer's referral fee would help more. A rushed sale to one of Marcus's development contacts could help enough to keep Ellis ahead of the people coming for him. And if I took on an $80,000 loan first, I would become easier to pressure. Renovation bills, monthly payments, delays, stress. Then my family could say selling was the reasonable choice. I printed everything. The zoning map, the permit notices near my street, Marcus's company page, photos of the trash bags, screenshots of Ellis's texts, the receipt for the design deposit, public records with dates and amounts. I put them in a manila folder and wrote one word on the tab: operator. For years, I had let my family make me the machine on the table. Too quiet, too single, too practical, too attached to old things. Too unwilling to be improved. But a machine cannot repair itself by accepting the wrong diagnosis. Somebody has to say the fault is not here. The family meeting came the following Saturday. My mother sent the text at 7:43 in the morning. "Family meeting at your house, 2 o'clock. This has gone on long enough. No please, no question mark, just command." I answered, "Bring everyone." By 1:30 I had cleared the dining table. I did not make coffee. I did not put out snacks. I did not light one of the candles my mother had left behind. The house did not need to perform hospitality for people coming to corner me. The new brass keys were in my pocket. Russell's blue notebook sat on the sideboard. The manila folder waited in front of my chair. They arrived in separate cars, which told me they had been talking before they came. My father walked in first, jaw tight. My mother followed, eyes shiny. Sierra came next, glancing around as if the house might embarrass her personally. Ellis came last with his salesman's smile already loaded. "Simone," my mother began before she even sat down, "we are here because we love you." "Sit," I said. That surprised them. "Good." My father lowered himself into the chair across from me. "Do not speak to your mother that way. Then she can stop using love as a cover charge." Sierra made a soft sound. "This is exactly what we mean. You have become so defensive." "No," I said. "I became informed." Ellis leaned back. "Here we go." I opened the folder. "Yes, here we go." I laid the first page on the table. The county zoning map, enlarged and highlighted. This is my block. 3 months ago, it changed to R4 high-density residential. That means developers can build multi-unit housing if they meet the county requirements. Condos, townhomes, small apartment buildings. Naomi Pierce from County Planning explained it to me. My mother frowned. Naomi is not family. That is why she was honest. My father picked up the map.
The numbers always got his attention. "What does this have to do with the renovation?" "Everything. A buyer who wants this property now does not care about my counters. They care about the lot. If I borrow $80,000 and renovate, I spend money on a house that a developer may tear down anyway. The renovation does not protect me. It weakens me." Sierra looked at Ellis. "Is that true?" Ellis gave a small laugh. "She is making it sound more dramatic than it is. Rezoning can increase value. I said that from the start." "You did not say developers were filing demolition permits on my street." I laid down the second page. 3 nearby addresses, permit filings, dates, applicant names. These are within walking distance. 2 are already in review. 1 owner accepted a cash offer last month. My father's face changed. Not enough, but a little. "Evidence 3, I said. "Evidence?" Ellis snapped. "Yes, you are a realtor. You like paperwork." I put Marcus Shaw's company page on the table. His smiling headshot stared up at us beside phrases like undervalued properties, motivated sellers, and multifamily redevelopment. This is the man Mom tried to introduce me to as a dinner date. Marcus Shaw, investor, development buyer, Ellis's business contact. They have been listed together on 3 local deals in the last 2 years. My mother whispered, "He is a nice man." He spent dinner talking about my lot, not me. He said if we got serious, he could help me turn it into passive income. You and Ellis were sitting 2 tables behind us watching the whole thing. Sierra's mouth fell open. "You were there?" My mother looked at Ellis. Ellis looked at the table. "It was not like that," he said. "Then explain it." He rubbed his jaw. Marcus asked about available properties. I mentioned Simone might be open to changes. Mom thought maybe they would connect. "Everybody is acting like I committed a crime." "Not a crime," I said. "A pattern." I laid out the text messages next, the articles, the lender's number, the note about rates, the gutter warning, the calculations, then the design deposit receipt. You created fear, Mom created disruption, Sierra created shame, Dad created pressure. All of it pointed to the same place: borrow money, change the house, then sell when the stress became too much. My father looked offended. "I did not create pressure. I gave advice." "Based on what Ellis told you." He turned to my brother. "What did you tell me?" Ellis's face hardened. "I told you she was sitting on value and wasting it, which is true." "Evidence 4, I said. The room went quiet when I pulled out the public records. There is a special weight to official paper. People can argue with feelings all day. They argue less when a county seal is staring back at them. I placed the tax lien in front of my father first.
Walker Realty Group LLC. Tax lien, $112,000. Then the civil judgment. Crestline Development Group versus Ellis J. Walker, $48,000. Then the notice of default. Additional pending default. Collections hearing in 8 weeks. My mother put one hand to her chest. Ellis? He did not answer. My father's face drained slowly, like somebody had opened a valve. He read the pages once, then again. Is this accurate? Ellis's voice came out smaller. It is more complicated than it looks. Debt usually is, I said. But it is still debt. Sierra pushed back from the table. You told us business was good. Business is good, Ellis said too fast. Then why is the county scheduling a collections hearing? My father asked. Ellis looked at him, then at my mother, then at me. For the first time in my life, the golden child had no charming line ready. I was trying to fix it, he said. With my house, I said. With an opportunity, he snapped.
You do not even appreciate what you have. You sit in this old place like it is a shrine. I thought if you finally did something with it, everybody could win. You would get money. I would get paid. Mom and Dad would stop worrying. You mean they would stop worrying about the story you fed them? His eyes flashed. You think you are better than everybody because you have no debt. No, I think I am allowed to keep the one thing that is mine. My mother started crying then, quietly at first, then with her napkin pressed to her mouth. I did not know about the liens. But you knew he wanted me to borrow money. You knew he brought Marcus. You knew you were using your key when I was not home. She flinched at that. I was trying to make you happy. You were trying to make me easier to understand. Those are different things. My father stood so suddenly his chair scraped the floor. He looked at Ellis, and for once there was no pride in his face. You used your mother. You used me. You tried to use your sister's inheritance to clean up your mess. Ellis stood too. Do not act like you would not have pushed her anyway. You hate this house as much as Mom does. You all talk about it when Simone is not there. I just found a way to turn the problem into money. That sentence did what none of my documents had done. It made the whole room honest. Sierra whispered, The problem? Ellis looked at me. You know what I mean? Yes, I said. I do. My father pointed toward the door. Leave. Dad. Leave this house. Ellis grabbed his keys. His hand shook, but his face stayed angry. He walked out without looking at me. The front door shut hard enough to rattle the window. Sierra stood next. She would not meet my eyes. I did not know all of it, she said. You knew enough to enjoy it. Her face folded, but she did not argue. She left quietly. My mother remained seated, napkin twisted in both hands. Simone, I am sorry about the notebooks. That almost broke me, because I had wanted those words before I knew about the money. I had wanted my mother to see that she had hurt something sacred to me, but apologies that arrive after exposure have to earn their way back into the room. You chose Ellis's version of me, I said. You chose it because it was easier than learning the real one. She cried harder, but I did not move to comfort her. My father gathered the papers with slow, careful hands. May I make copies? No, I said. I will send you scans. The originals stay with me. He nodded. That one nod told me he understood more than his apology could. At the door, he stopped and turned back. I am sorry, Simone. Not just for today, for assuming quiet meant lost. I looked at him for a long second. Thank you. He left with my mother. I locked the door behind them, not because I was afraid they would come back, but because that was what doors were for. Afterward, the house felt too still. I sat at the dining table with the folder in front of me and Russell's blue notebook beside it. The afternoon light moved across the floor, showing every scuff and scratch. I used to think those marks made the house look tired. That day they looked like proof it had survived being used. The consequences were not dramatic. Nobody went to jail. Nobody lost everything in one clean scene. Real life is messier and slower than that.
My father paid for a consultation with an attorney, not for Ellis but for himself and my mother, because some of the pressure messages had involved his name. He also told Ellis he would not cover the liens. My mother returned the appliances and lost the delivery fees. Sierra stopped sending kitchen photos. For a while, nobody called. Ellis sent one text 10 days later. "You did not have to humiliate me." I answered once. "You did not have to target me." Then I blocked him for 6 months. Naomi helped me understand my actual options, but she did not decide for me. She gave me names of 2 real estate attorneys, 1 housing counselor, and a preservation contractor who could assess old structures without trying to sell me a fantasy kitchen. I paid for my own consultation. The attorney told me what I already knew in plain language. Do not sign anything under family pressure. Do not take a loan without your own written plan. Do not let anyone represent both you and a buyer. Keep records of unauthorized entry. So I kept records. Then I kept living. 6 weeks after the family meeting, I built a fence, not a perfect one. The first post leaned a little until I dug it out and set it again. The gate squeaked. I learned that concrete bags feel heavier after sunset than they do in the morning. But every board went up with my money, my time, and my decision. My father came by on the second Saturday with wood screws and a drill bit set. He stood at the edge of the driveway until I noticed him. "For the fence," he said. I looked at the bag. "Are there conditions attached?" He winced, then shook his head. "No." We worked for an hour without much talking. He held boards while I drove screws. Once he asked why I wanted the gate to open inward. I told him because I liked stepping into my yard before stepping out to the world. He thought about that and nodded. Before he left, he said, "Your uncle would have liked this." I did not answer right away. Then I said, "I know." My mother and I became polite for a while. Polite is not the same as close, but it is sometimes the first honest place after too much pretending. She called twice. I answered once. We talked about weather, Sierra's children, and whether the grocery store on 5th still carried the coffee she liked. She did not ask for a key. I did not offer one. Sierra sent a short apology by text. It was not perfect. It had too many explanations in it. But near the end, she wrote, "I think I was jealous that you were not scared the way I am." That part sounded true, so I saved it and let the rest sit. As for Ellis, I heard through Sierra that he took a job with a brokerage 2 towns over and started meeting with a debt counselor. Maybe he changed. Maybe he only ran out of easier targets. Either way, he was no longer invited into my decisions. The house did change, but not the way they wanted. I replaced the back step because it had started to split. I cleaned the gutters because Ellis had been right about one thing: even liars can notice leaves. I hired a plumber to check the old supply lines. I put money aside for paint. Slow maintenance. No panic. No loan. One Sunday evening, I carried Russell's records back to the living room. I cleaned every sleeve with a soft cloth and put them in new plastic covers. The blue notebook went on the shelf beside the amplifier, which finally worked again after I replaced 2 capacitors and 1 tired resistor. When I turned it on, the tubes warmed slowly, orange light blooming in the dim room. I chose Kind of Blue because of course I did. The record had a scratch near the second track from its trip to the curb. When the needle found it, the sound clicked twice, then moved on. Not perfect. Still music. I sat in Russell's old chair with coffee cooling in my hands and the new brass key on the table beside me. That key had no history yet. No one had used it to cross a line. No one had carried it around as permission. It was just mine. For most of my life, my family mistook quiet for emptiness. They thought because I did not explain myself loudly, I could be overwritten. They thought because I loved an old house, I did not understand value. They thought because I was single, I was waiting for someone else to become the main character in my life. They were wrong. Freedom, I learned, is not always a wide-open road or a dramatic fresh start. Sometimes freedom is an old floor that creaks under your own feet. Sometimes it is a locked door. Sometimes it is a notebook saved from a trash bag, a record that still plays after being bent, a fence post you had to set twice because the first time was crooked. Uncle Russell did not leave me a perfect house. He left me a working system, shelter, memory, choice, a place where no bank could rush me, no brother could list me, no mother could redesign me, and no stranger could look at my life like undeveloped land. The trumpet played soft through the repaired amplifier. Outside, the new fence held. Inside, the house stood exactly as it was, old, sturdy, imperfect, and mine. If you have ever had to protect your peace from people who called control love, tell me what you finally chose to keep.